behind the baller. My life is more than money and jewelry. My story's so crazy, dog. I said make a movie behind the baller. I went from playing sports to exotic whips. Ain't gotta tell me, dog. I know I'm the shit behind the baller. My life is more than money and jewelry. My story's so crazy, dog. I said make a movie behind the baller. I went from music exec to this podcast. Now I finally feel at home at last. Behind the baller.
Yo, welcome to Behind the Baller, episode 19. I am your host, Ben Baller. No AKAs today. I kind of got my voice back from DC and being drunk, and I apologize about that, y'all. That was, you know what I'm saying, celebrating my boy Paul. It was a big deal. Lebanese wedding, that shit was crazy as a motherfucker. Let's get right into it. Yo, man, I'm getting really hyped that, this is just getting easier. I always have some shit to talk about, and I'm just hyped. I am upset that we lost that motherfucking game in Washington as far as the Dodgers go, and we need to get that game back. So I'm actually gonna go check out the game with my man Cole, and my man Cole Harris. He's a global entrepreneur, no joke, dude is for real with it. I've known him for a long time, and I'm actually gonna have him on the show. But before we do that, we got to get this W. And speaking of the Dodgers, I got to give a shout out to Mitchell and Ness and to Bathing Ape, aka Bape. They did these Major League Baseball series jackets and jerseys. These motherfuckers is fire. And they sent me one. I don't know if I'll rock one to the game yet. We figure it out. But the shit is lit. And yeah, I'm hyped, man. This is going to be a dope ass episode. I got a real special guest, man. I got George Lopez on the show today. And, we're talking about a real, true Hollywood legend, a real A-list celebrity star. Speaking of star, he's got the Hollywood star on the Walk of Fame. I don't know if you guys know, back when I was going to college, and even a little before that, I was a big fan of stand-up comedy, huge fan of fucking Eddie Murphy, enormous fan of Richard Pryor, Robin Harris as well. I just love stand-up comedy and, just the whole art to it. You have to have a real gift to make people laugh. The game has changed a little bit now, but George Lopez is real talented, super dope. I've always loved his stand-ups. Before I met the dude, I fuck with him heavy. He's from LA, and he's really from like a real part of LA. I can't wait to get into the show with him. But yeah, man, back in the day, Andrew Dice Clay, that was like, fuck, man, like one of my favorite comedians. And the comedy today, man, you can't really say too much. You get criticized for all kinds of shit. And like I said, I went to go see my man Mike Rappaport's stand-up show. And, one thing I didn't say, I told Miles and Jordan, I said, hey, listen, if this motherfucker ain't good, I'm going to talk a gang of shit. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if he's the homie, put me on. I'm fuck that. You can't go out there, you know what I'm saying, and be about that comedy life and go up there and not do well and just use your celebrity name or whatever it is. I'm gonna heckle the fuck out of him. But, he did his thing, and I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? It was dope. It was, he made me laugh, and it was good, man. But yeah, we'll get into that George Lopez episode in a little bit. A lot of people are talking about, they actually DM me and were like, yo, man, I want to hear more about cars. So, I'm gonna do a car episode. I'm gonna break down every single car that I've owned, which one was my favorite, what I think about the car industry. Obviously, I think that Supercar Blondie and Shmee, dudes like that and whatever, are just corny as fuck. I don't mind Alejandro so much. I guess his name is Salamandrin or some shit. I don't really know. I know him, whatever, it's all good. But there's just dudes who just kind of like, man, shut the fuck up, bro. And, people can say the same shit about me, but listen, check it out. If I criticize something, please believe I put hundreds and thousands of hours into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, people got opinions, like I said, about football and certain shit about movies and directing. Look, man, I got my degree in cinematography. You know what I'm saying? I actually directed a movie. I understand. My thesis was an 8mm film. I played football, so I can talk about it. Not saying you can't talk about it. I'm just saying you will never understand the game unless you played it down. You threw a football, you blocked somebody, you hit someone, you took them down in at least a competitive high school level. Not some high school that played fucking 8-man football or whatever bullshit. I'm talking about motherfucker was in the newspaper every week, dog. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, we going to get into this car shit, and we going to start a GoFundMe page for Supercar Blondie to get some lips. I'm just playing. But yo, man, I was going across Instagram today and I saw my man Biggs, shout out to Biggs, was on the show, and he had this meme and it said, people don't respect the hustle. They only respect the payoff. That shit hit me hard as a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? That shit is, man, Biggs be saying some dope ass shit. If you don't know, man, follow my man Biggs. I forgot what the fuck his name is. I think it's Biggs_Burke. I'm pretty sure. What else? Back on my jewelry grind. You already know I'm not fucking around. I came back, and I'm kind of going to just let you guys know now. Obviously, I got the Murakami collaboration that we're dropping at ComplexCon. I don't think anybody's going to have a chance to buy it at ComplexCon. Even if they do, what I'm getting at is I just got so many fucking people who hit me up for this piece. It's crazy. And that's an interesting thing. You know, I think people forget that whether you my homie or whether you're not my homie, understand this. If you're looking for jewelry, you're looking for a deal, and we friends, don't come to me. That's just not what it is right now. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I will show love, but you have to understand that when you buying a piece from me, with that piece comes bragging rights. I mean, you really do get to say Ben Ball did the chain, and you say it for real. That's why it's like, you know, once in a while I'll do a little small thing for a homie here and there. Obviously, I do little nameplates for women. My wife has one. A couple other homies, superstar celebrity, Ann Curtis has one. And it's like, yeah, I show some love, some of the homies here and there for small pieces. But like, you want to get something intricate and crazy, it's going to cost you. And I might open the gates up in a little bit because I'm finishing my last piece for the year. And that's for Tyler, the Creator. I haven't said anything about this for 2 or 3 months now. This motherfucking piece right here is going to be the piece of the year. It's going to be up with Cudi. I don't know. It's going to be battling each other. Speaking of Cudi, about to start a new piece for Kid Cudi. And this shit is, my God, bro. I probably won't be done with that motherfucker until around his birthday, which is the end of January. I'm not really sure. This shit's going to be crazy. I'm already getting ready for the holidays. And I'm starting to shut shit down. I'm just excited for a bunch of things, man. Next week when I get to New York City, I'm going to interview my man Jimmy Boy. I know he's from Houston, but I thought it'd be dope if I interview him in New York City. I'm going to pull up to Tracks NYC. And yeah, we're going to see what he got to say. He already got his ass beat inside his store. And it's kind of funny. You know what I mean? He got a little small part in Uncut Gems, and I'm not mad about it. Good for him. He's actually the perfect person to be in a type of movie like that. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, man, I'm back on my jewelry shit. And I'm back on my car shit. I should have dropped off the car. Listen, Gintani, Alex, you piece of shit motherfucker. You're a genius, but I'm going to have you on the show, and I'm going to give you the car because I need to get that exhaust done right, and I need to get that motherfucking tune. I actually need to holler at you about something else as well, and this ain't the place to do it. You know what I'm saying? But I am going to head out to this fucking Dodgers game in a little bit, and I'll come back and let you know how everything went. And then we're going to get into this George Lopez interview. But right before we do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about Klekt. All right, that's KLEKT @Klekt. In fact, today's episode is brought to you by @Klekt. As you know, we gave away a pair of the Sacai Nike LD waffle runners. The motherfuckers are hard as fuck. Thank you. It was crazy ass comments. Klekt is one of the first sneaker marketplaces in the world and is now available for worldwide buyers. They started in 2013 and are the biggest platform from Europe with the most credible authentication service. They now offer free worldwide express shipping. Nobody does that shit, right? And like I said, they motherfucking gave out some dope ass white gray Nike Sacai LD waffle runners. Those shit's dope as hell. Speaking of which, if you saw my story the other day, I got a pair on there. And because I got a pair blessed for the homies, I decided to buy a pair. And the pair that I bought came super motherfucking fast. So shout out to @KLEKT @Klekt. They sponsored this episode today. Yo, Miles, can I get a little jazzy beat? And Jordan, can you help him do that? Yo, this is a Dust Brothers production. Let's get into this Lakey Lake and then get into the George Lopez. You are listening now to Behind the Baller. We have the one and only George Lopez, star of the silver screen of television, one of the biggest comedians in the world, New York Times best-selling author, charitable in every way imaginable, already cemented on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's an honor. Welcome to Behind the Baller, and thank you so much for joining us. Please, today we're going deep. Do not hold back.
Okay.
What's good, dog?
Everything's good, man. So, yes, exactly. You forgot my wax figure at Madame Tussauds, which is the most horrible thing, I think. It was a good idea, I think, when I was 49 to say, hey, we want to put you in, the most famous wax museum on earth. So come in your suit, stand on this box, and we're going to make measurements of every dimension of your body, from the middle of your nose to the corner of your eye, from your lips, your ears, your neck, hands, feet. How do you hold your hands? So now that I'm 58, to go see that motherfucker at 49, you just look like, hey, man, this dude was on the rock. He just disappeared. He came back. He's got salt and pepper hair. He's got some goatee that's all white. But if you looked at him 10 years ago before he hit the pipe, he was just a handsome man, looked great in a suit. That thing is timeless. It's stopped in time, and I'm not. So, somebody would say to me on a elevator, you look like old George Lopez. And I said, well, fuck you. I feel like an old George Lopez.
I think actually, man, you look,
Thank you.
No rainbow sticker. You look cool right now, man. I think especially in the last few years, the transition. Like when I'm in like a random ass country and they got Nickelodeon and they'll have like reruns of the George Lopez show, and I'll sit and watch. I'm like, God damn, bro, motherfucker look chunty as hell here, right? No offense, but I know it's for the show. But I never seen you out in public like that. I seen you at a couple games back in the day. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, okay, George. But then like when I see you, like there's some people I see that have a stylist and they trying too hard.
Yes.
But like when we was on the plane going back from DC to LA, and I was like, oh, hold on. This motherfucker got Givenchy on, and it looked right on him. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So born in Mission Hills,
Yes.
LA,
Yep.
San Fernando High School. How do you think Los Angeles has changed over the years, over the decades?
Wow, that's a really good question. Well, I want to say that I was born in the General Hospital that's closed now. It's right off the 5 freeway.
My sister was born there.
Yeah, it's like so I would say that the main thing that's really changed, I think, is the demographics of, like when I was in elementary school, let's say in the early 70s, there was one kid that took a bus from Reseda to San Fernando to be in a English as a second language class. So I would say now it's almost all Latino and all Latino stores and all Asian stores and all different demographics, even up and down Western. But in Sherman Way used to be where you went to go get something really nice for someone. And now you could go over there and, buy candles in bulk and...
Dog, fucking Deja Vu strip clubs on Sherman Way, dog.
Yes. Yes, we went in there. We got somebody for another guy's bachelor party. But I would say that the biggest thing is the LA Unified School District is disappointing because it was considered one of the greatest, if not the template for good schools all over the United States. And I still go back and help my elementary school, San Fernando High, and I helped the high school a little bit. But, I never imagined that any random adult or anybody who was kind would get asked by a teacher to buy supplies because the school district doesn't give them all the supplies that they need.
I mean,
So
you're talking about
that's disappointing.
I went to high school. I went to school in the LA Unified all my life, right? And it's fucking terrible now.
Yeah.
And I got 3 kids, I got 3 tuitions. I complain about it on every episode. We're talking about $35,000 a year for kids, little kids, because I was supposedly going to the best charter elementary school in LA Unified School District. This was supposed to be the shit. And you know what, bro? It just ain't. And I couldn't have my son there because my oldest son has had a lot of illnesses and health issues growing up. And I was like, yo, man, he needs the proper attention, But anyways, that's big, man.
But I would say that, and currently in Los Angeles, if you go downtown, they've made some incredible things. D.L. Hughley's daughter got married. We went out there on a Saturday afternoon, and in a pocket of older hotels that have been redone and restaurants that are up there and pizza places and speakeasies even, in the nucleus of downtown by Staples, around there, maybe 2 Mile area, and anything outside of that there's too many homeless people, man, and there's too many people that are crazy out there, and now the police just drive around, and maybe you're living under the freeway, they just come and take up all your shit. Like just say, hey, carry what you can carry, and the rest of it is going in this trash can. And That's not an answer. That's not an answer.
And they keep pushing them, like, because they gentrified downtown so much. Because my mom's factory was downtown, her dress factory.
Right.
So, like, I remember when South Park, which is where Staples Center is, the Ritz-Carlton, where all the high-rises are, that area was fucked. You wouldn't even think about going over there. But they keep pushing them, like, more west, more east. Oh, let's push them towards South Central. No. Let's clean up South Central here. Boom. Let's push them towards Boyle Heights. Let's close down 6th Street Bridge. It's fucked up. I mean,
so when I was doing stand-up, when I was starting out, there was a club in Crenshaw in, South Central. And on the way back, I got lost. I was from the San Fernando Valley, so I got lost. And I said, man, I'm driving around. I don't recognize any of the streets. I go over and I go to a gas station. At that time, I had that big glass with the slide that went out. As I walked up, the guy slides that thing out. He goes, hey, man, get the fuck back in your car. What are you doing? I said, hey, how do I find the freeway? He's like, listen, man, it's very dangerous here. Get back in your car and just pick a direction and just keep going. But don't get caught in this area. And I was like, holy shit. I just got in and took off.
By any chance, was that the Comedy Act Theater?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Robin Harris, man.
Yes, sir. Robin Harris, God rest his soul.
DL was actually on that tape, the Bebe's Kids. DL, I didn't even realize until like later on, but DL was the person who introduced him. You heard him as popping and blah, blah, blah. It's crazy. But let's talk about.
Let me say this about Robin Harris. So Robin Harris, I think I met him there. Marla's Memory Lane too. Like, there's a generation now of people who, there's some great comedians out there. Chappelle is great. Chris Rock is great. Those guys are Steve. All those guys. But Robin Harris was really something special, man. This dude was incredibly fearless as a comedian. He was starting to get his little vibe acting. He had those kind of eyes, those no bugged out eyes. And I don't think I've ever seen a guy be funnier or more fearless than he was when I first met him. He'd say, hey, man, they used to be in El Torito on Wilshire, and they had a comedy on Wednesday nights, and I went to go see him a couple times there. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody do better or just rip into people better than what Robin Harris was doing.
My favorite part about Robin Harris was he didn't go into the science of comedy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how, go to like Punchline and do this and go through like, he just was fucking funny.
Period. And he worked during the day. We both worked during the day. I'd call him at work and he'd say, we going? Yeah, I went with him up to Ventura to a couple gigs up there. Wagon Wheel, the comedy on Thursday night.
Damn.
So I miss that dude. And nobody should, forget that. As time goes, people forget stuff. They're even forgetting Richard Pryor. So as time goes, you should remember your history and go back and say, if these guys are good, where did the people that they admired come from? And those are all those guys.
I mean, that's why I want to get into this comedy shit. Like, so when was the moment that you knew you were meant to be a comedian or an actor,
That's when I was growing up, I was an only child, my grandparents raised me and I was kind of introverted. And then, I don't know, I guess at school I would act out a little bit. And I'd never imagined, when I was like 9, I would make my grandmother, I wouldn't make my grandmother, but I would ask my grandmother if she would buy me a small notepad and a pen or a pencil at the market. Like everything that I owned came from a market. Tennis shoes, socks, underwear came from a market. And, that was that time, so she did on occasion. I still have some of those notebooks too, by the way. And they go back all the way back to 76, maybe.
God damn. What was the first comedy club that you ever performed stand-up comedy at?
The first comedy club I ever went to was on June 4th in 1979. I was still in high school. And May 5th of 79, I went to go see comedy there at the Comedy Store in Westwood. And the first comedian was this guy, Danny Mora, who I became friends with. Yakov Smirnoff was there, Tim Thomerson. So later on, when I got my show, my first TV show, I hired Danny Mora, who I saw that first comedian ever, to play Mr. Carrillos in that Mexican restaurant that my daughter worked at. I went to him and I hired him to play that guy.
Right. But what was the first club you performed your stand-up at?
Comedy Store in Westwood, yes.
Oh, damn. So since you were talking about the 9-year-old George Lopez, right? You said, take me through like a typical Saturday. When you were 9 years old, what was it like growing up? What was the family environment like growing up at that age?
Yeah. So I'm an only child. So first, I think it was the smell of pine sol would get you up. My grandmother would say, go outside because I'm cleaning. And then I couldn't walk in the kitchen because the floor was wet. And we really didn't go anywhere or do anything. And my grandfather would have me outside raking leaves in the fall, and I hated that. So I learned to purposely do them wrong so that he would yell at me and say, "Get up, go your ass inside. You don't know how to rake." But I did it on purpose. I raked from different areas. He was trying to get me to rake from the corner to the middle, and then I would rake from the middle outside, and he'd fucking get mad and throw the rake and take over himself. And I'd go back inside, and I said, "Look at him outside. Mission accomplished." Like I was always trying to get out to doing work around the house.
How has your Mexican heritage shaped your performance routine, like from the beginning? You know.
Yeah, that's wow.
There's no way a motherfucker to say like, oh, George ain't representing Mexicans. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know. That's God, man. You know what? I don't know where to start, man. I mean, I've seen a lot of parents in my neighborhood embarrassed by people at stores and at restaurants for not speaking English, and they would not say a word about it. They would just take it. People would be demeaning to them.
Right.
And I remember my grandfather worked in construction, and his boss was like a drunk, and his boss would say, when I hire him, it's like hiring 3 guys. And my grandfather worked his ass off digging ditches. It was sewage systems and different stuff, man. And to see him come back completely exhausted every day, and then have very little time before he had to go back out there again. I think it came from seeing disrespect of my parents' friends and their family, and seeing how little value they put on a culture made me want to decide to be about the culture.
That's dope as fuck, bro. So, growing up, then, who did you look up to as an entertainer?
Well, I looked up to Richard Pryor. So we'll go through Richard Pryor first. So Richard Pryor, I saw. And back then when they had albums, you would go to somebody's apartment and sit around, and the record player would play, and you would hear records, and you imagine what he was saying. And, it was about, his mom worked in a brothel, and he was raised by his grandmother, and he, had all this, this great stuff that I related to. So he was the first one. I watched live in Long Beach 5,000 times. My grandmother would walk by and look at the TV and go, "Why are you watching that again?" I'm like, "I'm studying it." "Studying what?" Like, "Why are you watching that? Did you get tired of seeing that same thing?" So I always say that Richard Pryor was the only black person that my grandmother would let in the house. And he came in via the videotape. So, she was extremely racist over everybody. Right. But I think Richard Pryor made me want to be a comedian. And then Freddie Prinze from Chico and the Man.
Oh yeah.
And so I want to say these two stories. So when I grew up, we didn't have anything, and I saw a lot of people try to pretend like their house was caved in after the earthquake and get FEMA money and go to the church on Thanksgiving and get turkeys when they could afford turkeys. I've seen people take a lot from services. I saw people go to the unemployment office and lie, and Social Security and lie. Grew up around a lot of lies, and people were very selfish, and they weren't very generous or kind to other people. So when you come as a product from that, and when I started to become successful, I understood that Richard Pryor, when he was still alive, he had commissioned an artist, Preston Jackson, to do a statue of him in Peoria. So there was a statue, the city of Peoria, where Richard Pryor was born, had gotten over him being, on drugs and lighting himself on fire. And they started to realize toward the end of his life that, he came from Peoria, he made something of himself. He was a big movie star, and he was a big, comedy star, inspired millions of people. So they started to build this statue, and it remained half built in a warehouse in Peoria. They didn't have the money to finish the statue, and they needed like $85,000. So I had the idea of putting together the Comedy Get Down, and I was going to be in Chicago, and I said, well, why don't we go to Peoria the next day, and let me see if I can ask these guys to do it. So Cedric said yes, DL said yes, Eddie Griffin, and then, of course, God rest his soul, Charlie Murphy. And we raised the money in that one night to finish the statue, and that statue stands right there on the corner of where his grandmother had a pool hall and where some brothels were, where he grew up. Right now is that Richard Pryor statue.
Damn, man. Just so you guys know, it's Peoria, Illinois. You know what I'm saying? That's where I was a big Richard Pryor fan. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what, man? This is just a question that I never asked you and my followers to know. Like, what would you consider to be your big break?
So I was at the Capital City Comedy Club in Austin, and I was drinking a lot. It was like the late 90s. I was drinking a lot on stage. I was just wasting a lot of time. I felt lost. You know, I had become what I did not want to become, and that was a comedian who only made money on the road. Like, you couldn't make any money in LA. Nobody would hire me to act. I wasn't doing any corporate stuff. I was just a road comedian, and it hurt. And I realized, I remember I told my wife, I said, I'd fucking become the thing I did not want to become. But at that time, I also realized that I was drinking a lot, but I also was worrying about everything everybody else did. So in that circle of time, Chappelle was at the Austin Capital City Comedy Club the week before me, and Sandra Bullock had gone to see him, and she loved it. She loved him, and the manager told me that she was going to come back this week and see me. But I was like drinking on stage. It was not something that I would want anybody to see. So I literally went to the green room and I closed the door. I locked the door and I looked up and I said, please do not let her come to this show. Don't, please. If there's anybody up there, do not let her come and see me, because she'd be disappointed. She was going to come to a show that was going to be half empty. So like 10 minutes after, the guy says, hey man, she called, she's not coming. And I said, oh my God, thank you. And then it was like maybe 3 years later, I'd cleaned up my act. I'd stopped drinking so much, stopped worrying about what other people thought. And she came to see me because somebody told her, you should go see George Lopez, because she had an idea for a show about teenagers were the stars and the parents were secondary figures. So I got her to come and see me at an improv. And after the show, she came back into the dressing room and she said, you know, I have this idea for these parents, but I think it might be more interesting to do your life, because all those stories you're talking about your grandmother and you're growing up, those are the things that I want to see. That's like a train wreck. I remember she said you can't turn away from. So meeting her and having that first meeting that I wasn't going to go to, and then they called me and told me to go. And then on the way down, she walked me down the stairs and she said, I said to her, listen, so whatever happens, I just want to say thank you for at least having an interest in me. You're going to try to do something that hasn't been done successfully in the history of TV. So I just want to say, if I never see you again or whatever happens, just say thank you. You know. And she said, why don't you worry about being funny and you let me worry about the rest of the stuff. So the big break was having Sandra Bullock have my back and be my executive producer and getting that show on the air.
I never knew that. And crazy thing is, I used to have a crush on Sandra Bullock.
Oh man, she's
and she's tall and the whole nine. That's crazy.
And kind and just and sweet and it's unfortunate because of, you know, some of the issues that she's had with you know, stalkers and people following her and stuff like that it's made her reclusive, because she was so good to everybody, and it's a shame, and it hurts me to think that somebody outside that was a fan or a stalker or whatever had changed this person's personality to somebody that's more guarded when she was just kind of enjoying life every day. I'm sure she enjoys life every day, but you don't see her as much anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, last time I saw was that Bird Box, which actually was dope. You see that movie? Yeah. I forgot. Is that what it's called, Bird Box? I forgot anyways. Who are some of the people that when you were coming up as a comedian in the 80s that you remember for better or for worse?
Wow. Well, you know, I started at a great time, man. I saw David Letterman in 1980. I became friends with Gary Shandling in 79. I saw, I saw
David Letterman do stand-up?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I've never seen that. Yeah.
Stand-up at the Comedy Store, and those guys, Howie Mandel and, you know, Byron Allen, and a bunch of dudes, man. A lot of guys are gone. You know, a lot of guys have passed, and very few guys remain from that class back then. But
was Jerry Seinfeld doing stand-up?
Yeah, but he was back in New York, so very rarely. But Jay Leno was out here, and guys like that.
Wait, so Mitzi owned Comedy Store from way back then too, right?
Showing the Comedy Store way back when. So one Saturday, me and my buddy Ernie go over there, and we're not working, so we're just out there hanging out in front. And I look over, and in front of the Comedy Store is a canary yellow Rolls Royce idling. Like the car's on, and it's idling.
Yeah.
And everybody looks at it's Richard Pryor in there, behind the driver's seat by himself.
Oh, shit.
So my buddy Ernie goes, go over there and say hi. So it takes me 20 minutes to walk like 2 feet. I'd look into the front window from the passenger side, and he has a micro cassette recorder, and he's listening to it. He's rewinding. He's listening to it. And I backed up, and I said, if Richard Pryor is recording his act at the level that he's at, then that's all I needed to see.
Damn.
I learned a valuable, and I'd done it forever. I did it with my own cassette recorder, and then since the shows got bigger, I do it through the sound guy now. And most of the shows I would say are transcribed, and then those become the next special.
Speaking of that, that's funny with Richard Pryor, man. Have you ever been starstruck before? Like, is there a moment that sticks out?
The dudes from Kiss, Paul Stanley I was a huge Kiss fan, and his son went to my daughter's school, and I was blown away to meet him, and we became friends. I would say maybe Elton John, yeah.
Oh shit! Okay.
I would say Elton John. I don't know how a little Chicano dude who grew up in an $18,000 track home became the lover of classic rock like no one can believe.
Is there any auditions that stand out in your mind, like bad ones, good ones? Any funny auditions?
Well, there was a part as a comedian on Murphy Brown way back in the day. And it was just, he was going to be on stage and he was going to be talking. I said, wow, God, how can I not get this? I didn't get that. And it was a shoe and all they wanted to do was see me. I didn't get that. Some guy named Bobby Collins got that. And it was tough, man. Like, I would always say, like, I wouldn't see anybody that looked like me on TV. And I look back and see how negative I was back when I thought I was like struggling to try to make things happen. Very negative. So the minute I wasn't so negative, I think whatever the universe does, it takes care of you and starts to. But I was the least likely, I say, least likely to succeed. I couldn't even fucking talk in public. So I don't know how I got here, but I think it's the resilience comes from believing that you have no chance in your life, that you came from no place and that no one gave you any encouragement, and you encourage yourself. And I think if I can fucking make it with zero encouragement, and I thought I was lazy, then I can talk about the things that I talk about, and maybe some other kid out there is seeing it, and maybe he didn't come from a perfect background, and you want that person to know, boy or girl, to know that your life is valuable, and if you work hard, you can become something.
Then, so what year was that? Like, when did you feel like you made it in Hollywood? Where like, yo, I've made it, I'm here, dog.
I would probably say, the show was on for a couple years. The day I got my star on the Walk of Fame, I think was a big day. Yeah, big.
That was recently, wasn't it?
No, that was in 2006, in March of 2006.
Oh no, I'm tripping. That was Cedric. My bad.
Yeah. Cedric, those guys. Yeah, but in 2006, and it was the day of my 100th episode of my show, so it had an event tied to it. But I'd walked up and down Hollywood Boulevard at 14 with my friends and thinking that maybe I'd see my name up here one day, but not knowing. So at the ceremony, I looked over to the left, and I saw my current family, people from the show, and my wife and my daughter was there. And then I looked over to my right, and the dudes that I used to go walk up and down the street with were right there with me.
Oh, that's dope.
Oh man, that was like
damn.
Oh man, I was out there crying, man. I was out there thanking everybody. It's like everybody's laughing. Who else are they thanking? I just was overcome because I had to put emotions away, because when you come from someplace like that, in order to get through the day, sometimes you have to put up a barrier between yourself and emotions. So when those things would pop up, I would become incredibly overwhelmed with emotion, and it would just come from nowhere. Like it just come out of nowhere.
Yeah. So going back to the show, when you're talking about it, so like the song Lowrider by War, right?
Yes.
It was a theme song for your TV show, George
Right.
Lopez show. Where were you when you first heard that song, and why did you choose that song to be the theme song for your show?
Yeah, man. It was probably a junior high, and War was coming out with the Why Can't We Be Friends album, and
Yeah.
you listen to it on the radio first, and then your friends' brothers had it, and they listened to it. But to have that show be attached to you for your life and identity like that that's beyond my imagination, man. I mean, beyond imagination of listening to that song and everybody loving that song, and then it having be associated with you. Somebody said I fucked it up because the Miller Genuine Draft song. So they go, now if somebody doesn't like me, they'll say, every time I hear that song, I think about George Lopez and how he fucked that song up. But
dog.
that song carried me. Through my life.
Nah, dope, man. Well, I was gonna say, how did the show change your life? As far as like, that was 2002 to 2007. Like, how did George Lopez show change your life?
Oh, wow, man. So, in hiring all those actors too, like I surrounded myself with really good people, and I was there all of the time. And you start to work, and you start. When the show first started, I was still in clubs, and then I remember trying to go to an ATM and having $38 and taking the 20 and not being able to take all of it because you only had to take multiples of 20, so you couldn't take the other 20. You just took the 20, and now you had $18. So when the show was on for a couple of years, I went to the ATM, and my balance I think was $1.4 million. And when it said, "Do you want your receipt?" And I said yes, and then it pulled out the receipt, and it said $1.4 million in my checking account. And I thought, that's a little bit different from 18.
Hey, just so you know, I've done the exact same shit. I still have some of those ATM receipts.
It's wild, man. It's wild because it just was the last thing that I ever expected to have happen to me.
Yeah, your show went into syndication all over the world, right?
Yeah.
Was there any place I don't know, was it playing in Russia or some shit? Did it anywhere crazy that you'd be like, damn, I can't believe my show's playing in this?
Well, I was in the Bahamas playing golf by myself in 2005. And I'm in the middle of the ferry, and I look over, and there is a Bahamian guy, and he's one of the groundskeepers, and he is driving on the dirt road as fast as he can. And there's dirt flying off of both sides, and the rakes and the shovels in the back. And he looks over at me, and then he turns back, and then he goes, skids, spins around, comes into the ferry, and he goes, "Why you crying, man? I love your mother and the show." And you're just like, wow, that dude,
In the Bahamas.
that dude's talking about my mom from the show. Like, and it just stopped him in his tracks. When he saw me, it stopped him in his tracks.
Hey, man, so talking about paychecks and your ATM and everything, people always say, oh, man, there's no money like TV money, like that network TV money, that's the real, is that true, you think, for the most part? Because I don't really, I've acted, but I'm not like an actor, compared to blockbuster movie money or network TV money. Is there a big difference?
I think the days of big money on TV are gone, because back then there was less channels and deals were bigger, but now with streaming and all that stuff, there's money to be made everywhere. But big money in TV, I think you have to have longevity, and which is the hardest thing to have. But there's still money there. There's still money in TV. There's money in TV when you're more of a creator and the producer and somebody put the show together. So,
but what's the best and worst parts about being on a network TV show, though?
The best part is, to be on ABC, it's like you're made. You're the NBC, ABC, CBS, and then Fox and all that stuff. So that you're on a major network that's seen all over the world. But I think the worst part is, I think when it's not going to last forever, and you're there every day, and you don't know how long it's going to go. I think there's a stress that comes with the show being good, but not getting the promotion. So I think the worst part is trying to defend your show to make sure it has as many eyes as you feel it should get.
Yeah. So we were talking about earlier, you're talking about the Comedy Get Down tour. I've always see you promote it back when I first started following you and everything, right? It's you, Cedric, Eddie Griffin, D.L. Hewley, and then rest in peace, Charlie Murphy. Whose idea was it to bring all you guys together?
That was my idea.
Oh, Wes?
It was my idea to raise money for the statue. And I really didn't know Charlie Murphy that well. I mean, I knew what he had done on Chappelle, and I had a guy that worked on my show that was a huge fan of his. So I had seen it. But also when I had my talk show on TBS, I brought Charlie on to do stand-up. And after the show, talking to him and realizing that it could not have been easy to be Eddie Murphy's brother and do stand-up, and the fact that I felt this connection with this guy, I decided to ask him to be on the Comedy Get Down when he was maybe the least experienced of all of us. The people were surprised that I would ask Charlie to be on the show. But, in his passing, you got to spend time with a guy that I don't know if there's anybody that had a better laugh or anybody that could be spontaneously more funny than Charlie. And to see that in the last 4 years of somebody's life, is an invaluable thing to me. Like it means so much to me. And he was really sick, and I never imagined that I wouldn't see him again. Like I still remember the last time he walked out the door. That's how much love and respect I had for him. I understood he wasn't feeling well. I understood he was very sick. I just never imagined that I would not ever see him again. That was crushing, man. And then you find out, on TMZ in the morning, somebody called me, and I called all the guys to let them know.
What's crazy is when I was listening to Mike Tyson, I've been listening to a lot of his stories, and think about Mike Tyson's life too. Not to take away from how crazy your life has been, right? But Mike has had was one of the most biggest celebrities in the world at one point. He said some of the craziest stories that he could imagine were Charlie Murphy. Like Charlie has stories that would never ever been told before in public, because he said Eddie would kill him, but he said Charlie got crazy stories.
He told me that Charlie told me, I'm going to tell this one because I think it's okay. So they hadn't seen Rick James in a few years, and they were up at Bubble Hill in New Jersey, and Charlie was at Eddie's house, and it was probably around noonish, and Eddie didn't get up till like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. He's like legendary for staying up all night and sleeping late into the day. So the housekeeper comes and says to Charlie that Rick James is at the door, at the gate, and he goes, "Oh, bring him in." So Charlie's sitting there like this. She's waiting for him to come. He doesn't come, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And he goes over and he goes, "Where's Rick?" And she said, "Oh, he left." He goes, "He left? Like, why? What happened?" "Oh, he just came in and used the bathroom, and then he got in his car and he left." He must have been in the area and had to go to the bathroom, so he went to Eddie Murphy's house and went in and used the bathroom. And when he was done, he bailed. He didn't even say hello to Charlie. He just went into there to relieve himself, and he cut.
Out of the 4 comics, right? From the Comedy Get Down, which one of the comics you've known the longest?
I think I've known maybe Cedric the longest, and he has a show on CBS and original king of comedy. But in a world of negativity, in a world of haters, and you know that, bro. Nobody knows that better than you and me. I have never heard anybody say a disparaging word or a negative thing about Cedric, and that's fucking hard to do.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's hard to do. And he's a guy that, those guys have I think we all kind of needed each other, as we were going and having that stuff. It's a very solitary life. And for us to be together really kind of gave everybody a new direction. DL has a show, and then Eddie's over there working now in Vegas, and then Cedric has a CBS thing, and I have my stuff, restaurants and all that stuff. And I think that all came from that nucleus of us being together and touring together. And now you look at tours, and now they do a lot of those tours. Mike Epps has great tours out there, and the girls have tours. And, that was something that was not as prevalent back when we started as it is now.
But when you're doing that tour, right, do you think your performance from the Comedy Get Down tour is like a lot different from when you were just doing your solo tours?
Well, I have to say that I probably benefited the most from being on stage in front of a predominantly black audience. And I had never done that. And, I'd gone to like Huntsville, Alabama. I got to Mobile, Alabama. Yeah. We'd gone to
for real
Memphis, Nashville, Gainesville. And I went first with no opening act. And I have to say that I got better in those 4 years, more than I'd have ever imagined I would be. And, somebody said to me, what is the hardest part about performing in front of a predominantly black audience? And I said, waiting for them to show up. Because the motherfuckers were an hour late. I mean, I could not believe how late. And I come from a culture of people being late. I could not fucking believe how late they would be. They go, we're going to hold a little bit, and I'd go outside and look at 8:10. I said, that place is fucking like, it's an eighth full. Where's everybody at? They're not here yet, but they're getting here. And that was, I think, it to walk up there and to say, my ticket said 8, and they would laugh, it got you going in the right. Like, you always have to look for that one punch. Like, if you were boxing and you come out, boom, you got the guy's attention. So my ticket said 8, and they would all laugh, and it was an invaluable experience for me.
Let me tell you something real quick. Just some information for you to know and for the listeners to know. They say colored people time is really bad, right? Let me explain something to you real quick. Filipino time is the worst you've ever heard of life. I remember Manny Pacquiao had an event that started at 1. He showed up at 7, dog.
Unbelievable.
The event ended at 3, dog. He showed up at 7. Like nothing. I'm married to a Filipino woman. Just trust me.
Yeah.
Man.
It's definitely, and I grew up around guys that were always late. And growing up, I said, man, I'm not going to ever be late because I grew up around all these guys that were late.
Yeah.
I'd leave my house at 6:50. School started at 8, and we'd be 35 minutes late every day because we're waiting for one dude to come out. And we just all the time just went there.
My mom used to beat my ass so bad. That's why I'm the most punctual person in Hollywood.
Yeah,
period.
you said, hey, listen, you said 10:30 at the house, 10:29. It just turned from 28 to 29, and you rang the bell. And that all has a lot to do with it, man. Like, people of color can always go back and find a reason to fail. They're like, oh man, they didn't get me, man. They didn't understand. But if you're late or you're unprepared, anybody would be done.
Yeah.
And it's not about the color of your skin. You try to, like, I knew a guy that when I did the TV Land show, that I knew this guy from the radio in San Francisco, and they had cast him to play the best friend on the first day of the table read. He's in half an hour late, and he hasn't read the script. And I knew that guy. And as soon as we were done with the table read, fired him. Because it's like, dude, your shit and your lateness and tardiness and your disrespect for being prepared is not going to fuck with my shit. Because it's too hard to get here to have some auxiliary person be fucking with your shit.
No, I hear you. So let's talk about this George Lopez Foundation, the Lopez Foundation. Listen, www.thelopezfoundation.org. Why is this charity so important to you?
Wow. So this is in medicine, there's a lot of things you can do to prevent getting sick. One of them is to notice the signs that something is happening to your body, right? So when I was growing up, I had in high school, I had my blood pressure checked, and it was borderline hypertension at 18 years old. And the doctor that came to the school was like, "Can you go outside and sit on that bench and just kind of relax, and I'll bring you back in." And we were taking the high school physical, and I'd gone in there, and I came back in, and it didn't work again. He goes, "Go back out there, maybe drink some water and put your head back." And I went in there, and he passed me with borderline hypertension at 18, and that was a sign that my kidneys weren't functioning well. So as time went on, the 80s, I worked all through the 80s doing stand-up, and when I thought I was fatigued, I thought it was because I was working a lot. So I could have prevented my illness if I had come from a culture where when you didn't feel bad, you went to the doctor. So when I had my transplant in 2005, kidney transplant, in a day and a half, I felt better than I ever had in my life. And I really didn't want to be the guy for kidney disease. Like, I didn't want to be I told my doctor I didn't want to be the poster child. And a day and a half later, when I felt better than I ever felt in my life, I decided that I would help people because I couldn't turn my back on people. And that was really kind of the evolution of me changing from being a selfish person to being a more giving person.
What year was that?
2005.
Damn. So how did your life change from when you needed a new kidney? Like,
well, I could grow a mustache where I couldn't before because my blood was tainted. So my blood was tainted and I couldnn't grow a mustache. And they go, "Oh, it's because you got a lot of Indian blood in you." And as soon as my blood started pumping clean, man, I started to get this mustache. I was like, man, I'm keeping this thing. I had a big ass Cheech mustache, man, in 2006. That thing was massive. And, to see people that have gotten better, to see people who have passed because of kidney disease, but also known that you created a place where people could find information and ask information about, being sick and getting healthy is that's something I didn't expect either, to be a person that, has a golf tournament every year, has money donated and donates money to when I can to the foundation so that we can continue to, help people.
that's what's up, dog. So let's talk about this. I just got back from DC last night, right? Let's talk about this special in DC that you invited me to.
Yeah.
What is it about President? I can't believe to this day, I still can't fucking believe he is the fucking president. But what is it about the president, Donald Trump, that makes you speak out the way you do?
Yeah, and I wasn't a political guy. People always say, even Chicanos, man, are like, hey, man, give it a rest. No, you can't. You can't give it a rest. Because, the things that are being done and the things that are being done to people and one certain group of people is just incomprehensible, man. You can't believe that it's going to be okay to go to work and pull people out and not say something. In Hollywood, a lot of Latino actors go silent because they feel like they don't want to jeopardize losing the audience that is Republican or believes in what the president. So they go silent. But silence is it's deadly. And I wasn't that guy. I didn't want to be that guy. But again, going back to what I said in the beginning about people being minimized and disrespected and looked at as unequal to somebody else is what made me go and do that. And the Kennedy Center is one of the greatest places. And Freddie Prinze was my other idol, and that was the last place he ever performed. In 1977, he had committed suicide the next week. So 40 years of him being gone. I do that show. 25 years of Richard Pryor's special in Long Beach. I do my first special in Long Beach. So there's a lot of those
that's dope,
connective things. But, that motherfucker, listen, I'm not I've never been the most honest person, but I played golf with him in 2007. Why play if you're going to cheat on why play? Just drive around in the cart and wave and write a fucking number on the card and go home.
Is he any good? I didn't even know.
He's pretty good. I mean, he's pretty good, but he fucking cheats. So it's like it's amazing. but you cheat in golf, you cheat in life. Like you cheat on you're only cheating yourself. You're like nobody cares what you and that's the biggest thing is that if he was honest, it reveals character. And there's there's a lot of bad shit going on, especially when you look at the guy in El Paso I went over to El Paso to see all of those people that were injured. And that's another thing that is just, you cannot believe that. I mean, he shot, that kid that shot those people, shot good people. And I said, every one of those people was positive and they didn't trip and say, man, when we get out of here, man, we're going to fuck that dude up. Everyone was positive, which is unlike all Latino people. But the ultimate compliment, I think, was, I visited those people, and there wasn't anybody I would have shot myself. So they were all good people. Like all people were cool people. You might see one dude's like this fucking cholo that I would have shot that fucking cholo, but no, they're all amazing.
Still to this day, I never asked you why'd you invite me to that show? Why'd you have me come out and be part of the introduction? That was crazy.
Well, you know what? First of all, we met on Instagram, so you would love cars, and you have the jewelry, and I would be. Looking through Instagram, I would be blown away, man, by the shit that you were doing, by the jewelry, by the memorabilia you collected and your business. And then you started to post cars. And I said, oh, man. And I looked at you, and I remember I followed you, and I sent you a message. And then you got a Mercedes 63 AMG. And I was going to get one. I said, what do you think of this one? And you're like, oh, man, that's badass. But you got it. And I said to you, you became the mark of whether it's good or not. I said, is this nice? Is this still happening? And I remember sending you a picture of chrome heart, all diamond ring, watch. And I said, hey, are people still fucking with this? And you're like, yeah, kind of. They kind of fuck with that shit. So yeah, it's cool. It's all right. So in seeing that and seeing you, I felt a connection. And then Cedric was there too. So in having both of you guys do it, taking that walk to the stage live.
Yeah,
it worked out exactly how I wanted it to work out.
No, it's crazy because it was diversity, but at the same time, you guys are salty, just seasoned veterans, just super veterans, freestyle. And I'm asking like 15 different people. I asked the producer, I'm like, hey, bro, what am I talking about? We just going,
We talk about your mom. We talk about your mom, the diversity of her having her own place, and then we're off and running. Yeah.
So listen, man, tell us a story that you've never told publicly, like something crazy or something funny, something you've never told publicly.
Let's see. I got one. So, my grandfather was not my biological grandfather, and on Sundays, on occasion, he would try to be like a big man. He always wanted to be a big man. He would invite his family over, and my grandmother hated his family. They were like leeches, you would say. Just come over to borrow money. So. He's out there playing big man. He's telling me to get ice. This motherfucker's like, hey, motherfucker, ain't your fucking waiter? You go get this. Go pick up this guy's plate. Go bring. It's like, dude, I'm not that. Hey, so I went into the living room, and my grandmother never drank, and he was hammered, and everybody's dancing and then playing mariachis to play more. There's food everywhere. There's bottles breaking. Kids are walking over glass. And my grandmother starts drinking them like drink for drink, but she's on medication. She's not supposed to even be drinking. So she walks by me, and she's like stumbling, and she goes, I can't believe this guy. And then she goes into her room and closes the door, and I'm sitting there on the couch, and about 10 minutes in, I get up and I go into the room and she's not breathing.
Oh, fuck.
I just sitting on the couch and I was like, I go in there, I check her, she's not breathing. Call 911, paramedics come, take her away. The guy goes, who called 911? I said, I did. And he's like, you saved your grandmother's life? And I said, I did. And he goes, yeah, she was in bad shape. Like, we had gotten there a minute later, 5 minutes later, it would have been over with. So I never told anybody that. I never told my grandmother I saved her life. She would have said, fuck, you know how many times I saved your life? But yeah, man. And I just, how people get this intuition, a premonition. And I got it. Like, I always trust my intuition and my premonition from even back then. But also, when I bought this house right here in 2014, I was born in General Hospital. I said my name is George because I was born on April 23rd, which is St. George Day, right?
Okay.
So that's my father's name, or who they believe to be my father, was named Anastasio. My grandma was like, we're not naming him fucking Anastasio. She goes, give me the calendar. Somebody bring me the calendar. So I bring a calendar, and she goes, April 23rd, it says St. George Day. So she goes, his name is going to be George. So I buy this house in 2014. This fireplace right here was all soot and is all blacked out. The guy cleans it, and in the back of the fireplace, there's a tile of St. George slaying the dragon from the late 1920s.
That's crazy, dog.
That's the most amazing, it's not a coincidence, but a serendipitous moment that you buy this house and fucking St. George, you can see it right there. St. George is in that tile.
I love serendipity. Just everything about that.
You would not have, and I was in escrow in another house that fell through because it had some mold, and you're desperate to get a house. I go, well, hey, it's a little mold. They're fucking you crazy, dude, it's all in the walls. Okay, all right. So I bought this house, and then that has that St. George, which means so much to me. It's an old tile from the 20s. This guy in Pasadena was a tile maker, and the fact that it's there is wild, man.
Yo, man, what are you most passionate about today as we sit here?
Yeah. I know, man. I'm doing another. We're recording another special mid-December, and here's another story I never told anybody. So I did the America's Mexican. I did Why You Crying for Showtime. America's Mexican. Told Dark Chicano in LA. I did It's Not Me, It's You, and then I did The Wall. This one is maybe the most important because I'm further along in my career, and I am literally trying to find my true identity every day. And hopefully by December 14th, when I'm there, it will be a different comedian, a different person than people are used to seeing, because I never had the time to try to figure out what made me tick, what I liked and what I didn't like, because there's a lot of comedians that it's just kind of, they're known for that. I'm looking for the true me in this thing. I'm looking to not do anything that doesn't mean anything to me. I'm looking to, for the first time, connect with whatever that real guy is inside of me. And it sounds fucking wild, but I've been doing stand-up a long time, 40 years. So it's almost like a veneer. What's under that? What makes that real dude tick? What's under that veneer? That's what I'm going to try to find.
That's dope, man. Listen, where's it going to be at?
It is allegedly going to be in San Francisco, the 14th and 15th.
Bro, you know I'm there.
At the legendary Warfield Theater.
Oh, I love the Warfield.
Yeah, dude.
And I got an apartment in San Francisco, so I'm there twice a month.
There you go.
In fact, I'm pretty sure the 14th, 15th I'm free, and if I'm not, I'm canceling.
Yeah. And we'll walk up the street and walk into the theater and go straight from the.
Let's do it. Your yearly party is just.
Thank you.
Legendary.
The weed party is, listen, this year I'm taking the L, man. This dude came in here and he brought some Tyler Toffoli's friend Brad brought in some motherfucking moonshine that tastes like apple pie. And he brought 2 big jugs of cider. It was all the shots. It was moonshine, lead-based, And my first drink was a pretty good amount of it. He and I toasted. And the rest of the day, I felt like maybe a boxer that got knocked down in the first round. And he's like, holy shit. He's trying to shake his head. They're like, dude, you all right? It's like the rest of the fight, you're trying not to get knocked down. You're trying to stay up. But that day is it's a fucking blur.
Oh,
and
man.
it's because of the apple pie moonshine. Listen, don't drink moonshine, man.
I was thinking about moonshine like a few days ago because
Yikes.
I tried some like 120 something proof.
Dude.
But that party, I've been to it 3 years in a row.
Yes.
And
you've been very kind to me as well with the vape pens.
yes, I brought some VVS there. I've talked about it on my podcast, but I've only had like less than 3 or 4 like those starstruck moments I asked you before.
Yeah.
And like Michael Jackson's one of them. I made jewelry for him. Prince was another, being at his house, private concert for 10 people.
Wow.
Larry Fishburne had to be up there, like, what I mean, that top 3. And, I meet him through you, and he's so cool.
Yeah.
And then even, seeing him again, he's like, hey, Ben, what's up, man? How you been? And how'd you become good friends with Larry Fishburne?
I did an article, there was an article about me on in Entertainment Weekly back in the day, and I said that, the show didn't get the attention. The people didn't get the attention. Sometimes you feel like, you're on, they don't feel like you're deserving the attention. So he read that Entertainment Weekly, and he called me, man. He called me, and he said, listen, I want you to know that we love you and you're valuable and you're important to our culture. You're important to our society. And I was like, man, for this dude to pick up that phone and out of nowhere just call me up. We just had dinner like a month ago. Continuing to be a great guy.
Oh, man, that's dope, man. So I just got a couple last few questions to ask you, man. What are your favorite restaurants in LA?
Well, that's a great one. So there's a Leo's Taco Truck right there on Sunset and Western. There's the Tepeyac in East LA. There's there's Carrillo's in San Fernando. In San Fernando on Mas Street right there, you can get homemade tortillas. But anywhere there's bars on the windows, I always said. Fucking bars on the window. And there's so many great restaurants made by people who still make stuff with their hands and still care about making food and still create that environment where you take a bite of food and it takes you back to wherever you were at that time. Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing is, I think I've told you this before, and maybe I haven't. Well, first of all, I haven't checked out Carrillo's. I'm going to check that out. My mom worked 85, 90 hours a week. And I was the youngest of the 3 kids. So by the time I was born, my mom couldn't, my mom had to go work and make sure we were all good. So I had my nanny was Mexican. She was from Yucatan. I don't know if I told you this. So my first language growing up was Korean, Spanish, and then English. So when I was like in 1st and 2nd grade, because I was completely fluent in Spanish, I was the ESL guy. Like when kids would come straight to our school, they were like, "Yeah, ¿qué es chino? What the fuck is this guy here?" And I would be the translator. But then when my nanny had left, I was like 9 or 10. I cried for months and months and months, and I lost all my Spanish from there. Obviously, I got all the slang and the bad words, but I mean, I was completely fluent.
Well, we had a maid called Catalina, and she was tiny, and she was the one that was always there. I don't know how the fuck we had a maid. So they accused her of stealing. My grandmother did, and my grandfather. So I was in the room when they accused her of stealing, and she went off and said, "So what do you think that I'm stealing in Spanish?" They're yelling back and forth. And she goes, "You think I'm stealing from you?" She tears off her blouse and takes her bra off to show that she doesn't have anything in her blouse. And it was the first time I saw titties. I was probably 7. I probably wouldn't think of a good way to start. If you don't think moonshine is a good way to start the party, seeing some saggy old titties with some old AM FM radio knobs at the end is not the way. I was like, what? And they're like, get out of here. And I said, what did I do? And then on the way out, like they pushed me out of the room. On the way up, I gave a little corner of the eye look again, and she was like moving, so they were like swaying back. Those flags in front of car dealerships, that they're going sideways.
Yo,
damn.
What are your favorite cities to play and eat in?
Well, San Francisco, yes. Amazing.
I love San Francisco.
And Chicago for all of the stuff that do that. But New York and what is shit? I mean, I remember one time, one of the greatest things that ever happened to me is we'd always try to find these great restaurants in Texas. So the further I went into Texas, the more people thought they would never see me there. So on a Sunday, we go to a hole-in-the-wall family restaurant. People are in there after church. We're having menudo. I'm going, nobody's paying attention to me. We're eating. I go, man, this is fucking great, man. Nobody's paying attention to you. When I get up and I leave, everybody in the restaurant starts clapping.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
And I was like, wow. And I said, oh, man. I couldn't, they all started clapping. I all stood up, man. I was like, holy shit, that's unbelievable.
So the last thing, man. So I finally got a golf pro.
Yes.
He's going to start teaching me, getting me back into the swing of things. So getting in this, we got to play some golf soon.
Yeah, man, dude, come on.
Hey, everyone, it's GeorgeLopez.com for all stand-up comedy tickets and information. George, not just only being a friend,
I
thank
love
you
you,
so
man.
much for coming out
And
on the
thank you
show.
everybody that's listening that trips on me, man.
God bless, man. Yo,
bless.
Miles, man, throw me, hit me with one of them Lakey beats real quick, and we'll be right back. So yo, man, George Lopez, man, I don't know what to say. I didn't know too much about dude. I just was a fan of his stand-up comedy. I can't say I watched more than 10 episodes of his show. It was on for 5 years, but his stand-up was just fucking amazing. I just every time HBO had a special, I fuck with it. It was something I really rock with. Another thing that resonated was the dude was from LA, like he was from, I don't really fuck with the Valley too tough, and I say that here and there, but like there's parts, and I know it's biased, I guess, but he came up in a part, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a tough ass area near Pacoima and shit, and like fuck that Richie Valens shit. I'm talking about like, and some of you guys are so fucking young, you don't research none of your history, none of your music, you don't even like think about like just fuck, man, like rappers don't even listen to rap, from 20 years ago and study and why, it's evolved to what. And like just today I was randomly sitting in a restaurant and a little, not Lil Wayne, what the fuck is, well, it was Lil Wayne, but it was Lloyd. A Lloyd song came on and it was over Eric B. and Rakim beat. And Lil Wayne was a feature, he had a 16 bar feature on there, and he was spitting old Rakim rhymes. And I'm like, bro, man, at least, motherfuckers, that's the reason why Wayne was so dope. And like, it didn't matter if he really was from the South, and like, he wasn't Andre 3000, it wasn't Tip, but he was spitting crazy from Louisiana, just bars out of this, just so crazy, metaphors, everything. And I've gone way the fuck off topic, but what I'm getting at is people don't study just the history of things that they're interested in, you know what I mean? Like, they'll think like, all right, Lil Duval is funny as fuck, and Duval's definitely, he's an OG, but at the same time, there's, he's changed with the times, and he's adjusted with the new. And they got this dude, Desi Banks, who's crushing it right now, and that Ha Davis dude and whatever. And I haven't watched too much recent stand-up, right? It's been a minute. Seeing Michael Rapport was dope to see, but I'm talking about like black comics and stuff, or that type of comedy. I fuck with it all. Jerry Seinfeld wouldn't be so successful. He wasn't such a great comedy. I saw him live at Caesar's Palace in like 1994, 95. I forgot what it was. But anyways, going on, man, George Lopez, he studied the greats. He really did stand up, and he said some shit off of camera that I don't even know if I'm at liberty to say, but it just hit me hard, And mostly overall, people are just too motherfucking sensitive, period. You can't say what you want to say anymore and be like, oh, because it's offensive. So fucking what? Sometimes you got to be offended, man. Being offended is a choice. You know what I mean? And it's like, I was watching Menace Society the other night when I was flying in from DC, and I just had it on my phone, and I just was watching it. And it's like, you see Lorenz Tate, and he's like, yeah, it's me, Wax, faggot ass Chauncey. That's how motherfuckers talked in the hood. Whether it was wrong or whatever, and you try to explain to them, hey, listen, this is offensive. Motherfucker, like no one cares. People say chinks and say honkies and say whatever and say gooks and all that. And it's just, if that's how motherfuckers are, regardless, and whether it's wrong or right, it's freedom of speech. You got to let people say what they want to say, how, and I get it, that could be an offensive word. Hey, man, you know what though? Not everything is going to be sweet in this world. And with that, if you go into the world with that attitude, man, there's some hateful shit. I get it. And be like, how do you decipher? Is that a real thin line? You're just going to have to. You know what I mean? And if you don't have thick skin, you just can't be successful. You won't be, period. I'm telling you now. Now, you could have a heart and you could be sensitive and, you could be caring. But if you just can't deal with booze and shit like that, or you can't deal with people talking about you, oh, man. Like, my thing is this when it comes to social media. Why would you follow somebody you don't like? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Why? That just weird. I can't stand somebody. I don't want to see them. I might block somebody I don't want to fucking see, like on my fucking timeline, anything. Like, some annoying fucking YouTuber or something. Like, bitch, I don't want to see you. I'm going to block you. Why would I want to follow? Why would I want to even troll you? I don't. Why would I just don't get it sometimes. And people want to say negative things to get a reaction like, yo, where did you come from? Like, you don't think that you're not sad? Like, whatever. And like, I don't give a fuck about getting sued. I would slap the shit out of some of these people. You know what I mean? And I have. A lot of people don't know. People just, for the first time who don't know me very well in real life, be like, yo, Ben got shot twice? He got shot with a bullet? Yes, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, I've been in fights and whatever, and it's like, it's just normal shit, and don't talk about everything. And especially some of the best parts of my life don't make it to social media. That's what's crazy. So I really appreciate George coming on, telling them stories, breaking it down, and the Sandra Bullock shit was crazy. And when I think of George, another thing that I think of is the fucking Dodgers, because George is like the mayor of Dodger Stadium. And with that said, we got to get into the fucking Dodger game. I just got back from the Dodger game. Me and my boy Cole, my boy Pat, my boy business partner, and we're at the game, and things are going well. I see a lot of homies. I take a lot of pictures. Listen, to everybody who's listened to this podcast and was at the game tonight, if I seen you, took a pic, whatever, it's love. 99% of the time I'm going to take a pic, especially at a public place like that. I know I'm entering a space of where people are going to ask, to talk, make small talk, whatever. And sometimes I'm not maybe necessarily for the small talk, but you want to take a pic or something else where, I'm game. Sometimes I'm in the mood to talk with someone, and depending on what the conversation is about, most of the time now I kind of save myself for my homies and people, who I do want to talk to. But let's get into the game, early on, we, young Jock, I'm saying, Jock Peterson, which first of all, Jock, you got to take that intro music the fuck out. Okay. I want to say something else, but I don't because, I won't because, of privacy issues. But Jock, you got to come out to some young Jock, man. Like, it's going down. Like, that shit's not, I mean, we got to wait till next year anyway. But I was just fucking disgusted. And, I don't watch a lot of baseball. Once the baseball gets in the playoffs is when I start watching baseball. I would say I'm a casual baseball fan, but I've been a Los Angeles Dodgers fan for 40 years now. I went to the World Series in 1978 with my parents, and my mom's friend had tickets, and they gave them to her. And I was with the Yankees, and I forget Yankees, and it was at went to the Dodger Stadium games. I've been a Dodger fan a long motherfucking time. I represent, that's LA. That's just some real LA culture shit. And, I rock a Dodger fitted, at any given day of the week, very often. And anyways, man, George has taken me some amazing World Series games, VIP, triple. I mean, as good as a VIP as you can get. I don't think it can get better than that, And he showed me insane amount of love. So if there's anything he ever needs from me, fuck, I'm there, like first thing smoking. But again, young Jock hit it. It hit the gate, ended up being a ground rule double. And, Max, once he came in, brought him in. So we were 2-0 early on. And then Will Smith, he hit a home run. So we had a 3-0 lead for, 7 innings, 8 innings. And then all of a fucking sudden, Dave Roberts feels like, hey, man, let's put fucking Kershaw in the game. Yeah, Kershaw's dope, whatever. But guess what? He just pitched 2 nights ago. Fuck you need to put him in for because he's a left-handed fucking pitcher. Like, no, man. We got a decent bullpen right now. Like, and we had a little lead. But they put fucking Kershaw in, and then guess what? Bang, we're 3-3 out of nowhere in the 8th inning. Boom. Then we go to the 9th inning, and guess what? We can't get it done, and we go in extra innings. And then guess what? They throw Kelly's punk ass in. He was doing good for the first fucking, series. Then next thing you know, boom, meatball down the center, fucking bases loaded, grand slam. At that point, I left the game, so I don't know what the fuck happened after that. I'm just disgusted. I was like super hyped to rock the fucking new Bape fucking Dodgers jacket. I seen some other kid have one from a distance. I don't know who the fuck he was, but anyways, the jacket is super fly. Made me feel a little different. Made me feel a certain type of way. All right. And then now another thing is I've had a lot of jerseys. I've had Puig. I've had fucking Seager. I've had Kershaw. I've had fucking, Bellinger. I've had Matt Kemp. I've had a bunch of jerseys. And I'm just like, that's why I get custom jerseys. Because I'm a fan of the game, fan of the teams and everything. But you know what? I like having my own, you know what I mean? And my number's 42 because that's what I wore in high school and that's what I wore in college. So I wore 24 for a little bit too, and it's a dope number because that's my son's birthday. Now going on, I had a custom jersey made, and authentic, and it was cheap. It was like $280, and it was you get your real name put on there. They were tripping on the 42 because it's Jackie Robinson, and today was like a Jackie Robinson honorable something going on at the park. Today is also Yom Kippur, so happy Yom Kippur to all my Jews out there. And anyways, so I bought it, and they told me, and I bought this shit in the 3rd or 4th inning, and they're like, yeah, by the 8th or 9th inning, we'll have it back for you. And I'm like, are you serious? So I got the custom, 42 jersey, authentic, with the fucking baller on the back. And anyways, I'm hyped. So I walk back out with my custom jersey, and all of a sudden, we lose this game. And I'm just thinking like, yo, first off top, Kershaw, you're just a fucking clown. You just are. And I'm sorry, man. It's just crazy. You get paid so much fucking money, and it's just, man, dog, fuck, man. You've just been disappointing lately. And we were like the Buffalo Bills. And some kid today was like, no, you're not the Buffalo Bills. You're the Cleveland Browns. No, you stupid, dumb motherfucker. You're a young ass kid. Or maybe you're 24. Who knows? All right. There was a point in time in the early 90s, right? In the early 90s, you weren't born. So the Buffalo Bills did back-to-back Super Bowls. Was it 3 Super Bowls? And, lost by a kick, choked here, choked there. And it's just like, yo, went to 2 World Series back-to-back. And then now we go to the playoffs and get knocked out. And it's like, this is fucking sad. Dave Roberts, you got to go. You're just a fucking idiot. And I don't know. On some other sports talk, Lakers look dope. I'm hype about it. I know it's preseason, but it's gonna be dope. I know it's some snobby shit, but it's hard to sit a Laker game that without. I mean, sometimes when it's when a homie gives me tickets, I don't know, it could be Ben Simmons or somebody from another team and give me tickets to a Laker game when they come in town. If I'm sitting in the first 2 rows or something, it's kind of cool. But for the most part, I like to sit courtside. But when I'm looking at courtside tickets for Laker Clipper games, the cheapest tickets, and like we're talking like under the basket, like 25 bands each. So I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't want to spend that kind of money this year. I got a few projects that I'm working on, and I'm investing some money into that, and I'm using that money that I don't know if I can flex and do $50,000 games, because 4 games right there, that's 200 bands, and that's a house somewhere. But that's a semi-decent car for me. But speaking of which, on another note, the Niners play the Rams this weekend. Should be interesting. The Rams are good. They've lost a few games, but a couple games, I'm sorry. And I think this will be the first test for the Niners to see what the fuck is really going on, because I can't wait for that Seahawks-Niners game. 11/11, November 11th, Monday Night Football in fucking Santa Clara. I can't wait. E40, I'm going to be hitting you up. I'm going to be talking a gang of shit. And I really think that we got that game. And if you guys don't know, it's obviously been a rivalry ever since like the Richard Sherman incident. I know he plays for the Niners now, but it's just kind of been the Niners Seahawks has been a rivalry for at least the last 4 years or so. Should even maybe longer than that. But yeah, man, I'm excited for Seahawks this weekend. I won't be here. I will be here. The fuck am I talking about? Next week I'll be in Seattle. So for all the homies that have Seahawks tickets going to Seahawks games, I'll be going to the Ravens game. What else, man? I said something the other day, and I was just thinking about this because I haven't had an anxiety attack since Tokyo, which is just a little over a week ago, and I've been feeling cool. And maybe it was jet lag, maybe it was that, and some other shit, and stress, and some other bad news that I got, and whatever, and it just made me feel some type of way. But I haven't had any anxiety lately, and I'm excited, and I just thought about something that I really want to do. Like, I want to help people feel good, right? And I don't mean like go out and talk. I mean whether I do a live speaking, at an event or something, but for the most part on my podcast, I want to say something. I want everyone to feel free, right? To do what they want to do without necessarily having to hurt anybody. But if it means you being selfish, you got to spoil yourself sometimes. You got to be selfish sometimes. And I just want to help everyone feel good, like the best that they can feel, And I don't necessarily mean hitting the gym and doing exercise, which you should do. It's good for you to do. But I didn't mean it more mentally, just feeling good about yourself and getting up and doing something. Whether you ran 4 errands today out of 6, right? You're like, all right, well, I did 4 out of 6 today, okay? Whether you taught your son something new, or your dog, or, you learned something, or maybe you made some money, or you figured something, or you read a book, something that just furthered, expanded your mind. It's something just like, I mean it in a mental way, like, because realistically you are in control of how you feel. I know some people are like, no, sometimes something happens. Yeah, it's a reaction, and things could be sad. You could see someone get hit by a car. You could watch a sad movie. You could watch The Joker, which we'll get into in a minute, and it might make you feel kind of cringy and weird or whatever, and it fuck you up. Or maybe there's too much silence and you're somewhere. You, all right, and you should take steps into expand, and focus on the mental health, exercising your mind, even just reflecting on good times. It's a dope ass exercise for your mind, But on another note, again, I know we talked about the 250 people. I want to help people earn a better life financially. That's just a goal that I want to achieve, whether it be this year, it won't be this year. It'd be maybe next year or in 2 years, but it's something that I want to do. And that's going to help me. That's going to be the most therapeutic thing in the world. I want also people to feel mentally strong. I want people to feel rich in every aspect of that word. Okay. Now, I was talking to my boy Nelson, and my boy Nelson, crazy ass Latino motherfucker from New York. Is he Dominican or Puerto Rican? I forgot I think he's Dominican actually. Oh no, I'm sorry. He is Puerto Rican. Crazy ass Nelson, my boy from New York. He also holds me down on a security level, and he just reminded me of some crazy shit, right? On some, not necessarily as a Forrest Gump story, but I went to New York to go see Amanda Bynes, and this is when Amanda Bynes was saying crazy shit. Like she was saying, Drake, I want Drake to murder my pussy and all this crazy other stuff and everything else. And I don't want to bring up any bad blood, but she used to date Cudi, and I never asked Cudi really about old girl. And, she just went crazy, right? She lost it and everything else. And I think did she take some nude pics? I don't know what the fuck she did, but she was crazy as fuck. If you don't remember, this was not that long ago. This was probably inside 4 years ago. And she just went fucking nuts. Well, Amanda ordered a grill from me, right? A rose gold pink sapphire grill. And finally, I went to go meet her, and she'd been kicked out of a few hotels, whatever. And she was staying at the Ritz-Carlton in Central Park. And I knew somebody that worked there. I forgot what it was, or I forgot what the fuck was going on. But bottom line is I got a hold of Amanda. I think it might have been through my boy Brandon Hampton, who is, he has the Twitter and Instagram handles @money and @CEO. And Brandon is like a social media expert. And I don't want to get into fucking all that. Brandon connected me with Amanda Bynes. And so I go to New York, and I bring my mold kit and the whole nine. And Nelson comes with me because y'all know if this bitch is crazy or whatever. So I knock on the door, and she answers the door, and she has I think a junior suite, right? And it has a little bit of view. It smells a little crazy. It took 15 minutes for her to come to the door. The room wasn't that big, and it wasn't anywhere near. I mean, even 30 seconds is a long time, right? And it took 8 legit minutes, right? 2 songs, okay? And I'm waiting for her to open the door. She opens the door, and she's wearing a robe, and she just looks crazy as a motherfucker, right? Nelson goes to the side, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to tell her what to do. If anybody knows, or anybody ever been to a dentist before, you got a bridge, or you got a root canal done, or you got if you ever had an impression or a mold done by a dentist, you know what it's like to get a grill. The grill is a little bit more nastier. I actually use crown molding, so it's not as bad. But I remember some of these young girls that I've made grills for, they're like, oh, that's just the worst experience of my life. Bitch, shut up. I mean, anyways, I'm not going to say some more explicit shit. But so finally I get Amanda to sit down, and she's sitting on the bed, and she just keeps delaying shit. And she ordered strawberry water, or she ordered some crazy shit. There was room service that was in the room. She ordered more room service. The room was a fucking disaster. It was messy as shit. I have no idea how the fuck she's paying for this again. She ain't did no movies in a minute. I have no idea. But I'm there, and everyone in the world's trying to get a hold of her. I get next to her pretty quick. She sits down and tries with the mold, and she can't let the mold sit in her mouth for even 2 minutes. I mean, a minute and a half would have been at least decent. And she just fucking starts biting it like it's like a bubble gum, and it shit tastes nasty. And she fucks up the first mold. Now the thing is, I only got 2 more molds left. I didn't really bring a ton of putty because I was already doing shit out there. And so the second one, she fucks that one up too. So I said, Amanda, if you want to get this shit done, you need to sit the fuck still, and you need to relax. And she's like, okay, I promise I will on this time. And she's like, you know what? You're cute. And she like touched me and whatever else. And I was kind of like, yo, man, damn, like, Amanda was a decent looking girl, I'm married and, yeah, no, I'm here to do this shit and and get this going. So, I look to the side and if you go to any hotel, don't know why, but every single hotel you go to could be a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star. If you open the nightstand, bedside table, you will see a Bible in there. There's going to be a Holy Bible. No idea where it came from. I might Google it later why there is one. But there was a Bible out on the top of the nightstand, and the Bible was open and it was torn out like pieces of the Bible were torn out. This bitch Amanda Bynes got Bible paper and rolled up a motherfucking joint. Now, the weed looked all right, looked like some mids, right? But it was green. And she was like, yo, you want to smoke? And I was like, you know what, man, if this is going to make you feel cool or whatever else, I smoke cool. I was about to actually grab the joint from her, and Nelson stopped me. He put his hand on my arm, blocked it. He looked at me, was like, motherfucker, is you crazy? He actually said, is you crazy? And I was like, okay, hold on. Maybe he's like, bro, that shit had that got that shit in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some shit in there. And by shit, I'm talking about that dust, whatever. And she was on some shit. Listen, I smoked, I drank. I've seen people inebriated on alcohol. This was some whole different shit that she's on. So third mole goes down and we get it, right? And I leave that motherfucking hotel and just think like, wow, man, this bitch is all the way gone. Next day, I'm rolling through fucking Midtown Manhattan and TMZ catches up with me and they interview me about the whole situation. But it was just a crazy story. I thought about Amanda Bynes and I never told that story in full because, again, Instagram is not really the place to tell a story and I'm not really a YouTube dude. But yeah, so that goes on. Finally, man, the Joker, bro, I've been hearing mixed reviews. I've been hearing like 65-35. It was like first 50-50, then 60-40, now it's 65-35. 65% of the people are telling me movie is lit, it's good, it's slow. Yo, I need to see it for myself to give you my real opinion because I'm a Joaquin Phoenix fan. I remember back in the day seeing him out and shit. And I've always been, he's in comedy, he's done this, he's done that. He's just a dope ass actor. And I never thought he would outdo his brother River because River was like lit, you know what I'm saying? But this motherfucker, Joaquin, is just, he's a real thespian and I can't wait to see it. I'm hoping to see it by the time that, when this podcast drops, hopefully right around then I'm going to try to go catch a matinee with my wife. And I'm going to give you my real review. Lastly, I got to say thank you again to George Lopez. I got to say thank you to Illegal Cartel for the theme music. I obviously got to thank Lakey Inspired because he's just out there. I got to connect with Lakey this month sometime. So Lakey, if you listening, bro, we going to definitely connect, man. You live in K-Town, which is fucking amazing. And right about now, speaking of Lakey, the Dust Brothers, Miles, Jordan, yo, can y'all bust out a motherfucking Lakey beat for me? Yeah, that's right. We are out, y'all. Again, this is not your practice life. Peace.